But in reality, normally just kind of get everything all tangled over top and put hair fibers down. It's like a fine powder. Even with the hair fibers. Like that, yeah. And then like all the hair is super long. But in reality, this is what we're working with. A lot of this. So thinning here, 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 and super long. Like, look at this, Wolverine. This is almost done. Why do I need that when I could just stop living in denial and get rid of the hair? We're gonna return the hair fibers and we're gonna go get a razor instead.
Where are we going?
I don't want to do this.
Go.
Whatever. Got the razors. This is now my domain. Middle-aged Wolverine. Oh man. What's weird to me is not losing this. What's weird to me is losing this and this. This is weird. We'll do this gradually, yeah? I'm gonna start with number 8, okay? I'm going whole hog. We're going right down the middle. I got this.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've seen everyone do this and they're like, oh man. And I'm like, come on, just do it. Yep. Oh. Nothing came off because there's nothing there. Oh. This is what denial looks like.
You're doing good.
That's a lot more gray than I thought. Holy moly. Get out of here. What is that? Whoa. I've now become my father. Wow. Wowee. Okay. Look at that. Look at all that. I also didn't know what I look like. Okay, all right. Let's bring it down a notch. I don't know. Number 4.
This video is brought to you by Baldcafe's Bald Head Butter. If you are a bald king, grab your Baldcafe's Bald Head Butter right now. Link is in the description. Let's continue.
This is the worst. I wasn't even thinking when I started. And now that we're this far in, I can't believe I'm doing this right now. There we go. There's a big chunk right there. You were probably as curious as I was to see what this was going to look like, eh?
Mm-hmm. Those pieces in the front are just so interesting.
I know, right? They're just there.
Just hanging around.
So there's actually a lot of hair at the back, but it was growing really long to cover up the stuff in the mid and the front, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm doing this. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good to do it.
Aww. I've never, rubbed my hand through your hair.
I've never let you.
No.
What hair?
Well, just how soft it is. Okay, there's some more. Oh,
One last time.
yeah, giving it a good treat.
Soft hair. Okay. This is it. We're going. I can't believe we just did that. Temperature change already. He's like, what are you doing? Who is that? It's so strange. I got most of it, eh?
Yeah, you let me know when you want me to do the
All right, go for it.
Okay. I'm gonna do
Wow, feel it. What is it?
Okay, I'm gonna do
I'm so used to feeling hair and like putting it back into place.
yeah.
Oh, look how much, like, I'm doing it as if I'm like moving the hair, but like, look how thin. It's so soft. Okay. That's so weird just saying that. So I don't have a weird shaped head. That's nice. Do I have a weird shaped head?
No.
Cool. As I was finishing up my college years, and I was like 23 years old, and I was like, oh man, like every time I style my hair, there's a lot of hair on my fingers. And I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know what to do with this. Like it doesn't
Right.
seem like anything's bad, but we'll see what happens. The next couple of years I spent teaching abroad, and I'd be in the shower and washing my hair, and I'd be like, man, there's a lot of hair coming up, but I don't see anything. I remember I'd look so closely and I never remember seeing anything until, I was about 25 years old. I was back home again. I was helping my sister move, and I just happened to be in her bathroom. And like, I don't know if it was like the light in the mirror. All of a sudden, I was like, what is that? And it was like this one spot. And like, it was just like so tiny. I was like, guys, I've never seen that before, and had a bit of a freak out. And I was like, nah, no, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just like the way I was wearing my hat. It just made my hair go a certain way. But then I remember a few months later, I was going to a birthday party of a friend, and it was like a themed birthday party. And so I was like styling my hair a specific way for this specific theme of this. And I was like just going through, and I was like, oh, when I just kind of moved the hair like this, and I was like, there's just this one spot here in the front, about the size of like a dime. And I was like, I don't know what's going on there, but obviously I can't style my hair in a certain way anymore. So that was when the fear began to really set in. I was like, there's no way I'm losing my hair at 25, like there's no way. There's no way. It's not happening. And so for the next year, I was able to kind of just manage by like styling in different ways, and it was okay. But there came a point, I was around 27 now. It came a point where I was like, I just can't hide it anymore. And it was right in the front. And at the time, I was like, if only I was balding in the back. I was just like, like that whole like bargaining of like, if only, like if I was balding in the back, I wouldn't be upset about this. It's
Right.
because it's in the front.
Yeah.
You're dealing, it's almost like this grief cycle. There's like this denial, and then you're mad about it, and then you're like kind of trying to bargain your way of like, I don't know. That cycle, it continues throughout the whole process, and until you're willing to address it. My solution at the time, I guess I had just been like Googling things, and of course, when you Google things, like every advertisement that's out there is going to show up about anything from like hair transplants
Yeah.
to like the spray on hair or whatever, to the hair fibers. And for me, being on a limited budget, like the hair fibers was like, I thought, my best bet,
Yeah.
because I was like, no way, there's no way I'm losing my hair. I started purchasing these hair fibers, hairspray, had to say goodbye to like the pomade and all that, because I couldn't do that. It was hairspray all the time. And I remember thinking, I was like, this isn't healthy. Like, in a sense, like this isn't healthy physically, like the aerosol from the hairspray, and then like the hair fibers, you would blow, you'd clean out your nose. And it was like, it was like almost like you had been breathing in smoke,
Right.
right? Like just all this gunk would come out. I was like, that's going into my lungs. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, like it was just like, this isn't healthy for me mentally either, right? Like it's just,
Yeah.
I'm living constantly in fear. Like a windy day, that sucked. Like, it's like, I guess I have to wear a hat, but then if I wear a hat, then my hair's all messed up, and then I can't, what do I do with that?
Did you have like a daily routine around the fibers?
It was every day to every 2 days. It started out that way anyway. Like it was because it was a smaller spot on my head, on my scalp, but I was able to cover that up fairly easily. And as the years progressed, like it's been nearly 12 years at this point.
Okay.
So it's been almost 12 years of like using hair fibers and like hairspray.
Mm.
So it started out very simply. I was like, I can set it for, a day, maybe a couple of days if I don't want to like, wash my hair that day or whatever. Like it was just kind of a thing. But every time before going out, I got into this habit of like, okay, is everything in place? Is there like this one weird, like really long hair that, because you're starting trying to cover things get longer. And I
Yeah.
was like, there's this really one weird long hair. Let me
put that back into place and fold it in. I have curly-ish hair, so I can kind of hide it in there and put a bit more of hairspray on. Fortunately, I was able to still play some sports as long as I just put a ton of hairspray in and my hair wouldn't
Okay.
move. But nothing, no swimming, nothing in the water, no going out on the lake, with my buddies, like never anything like that, just for fear of like wind or water or anything like that.
Mm.
And so as the years, I guess months and years progressed, I became a little more obsessive with it. Where like I was like, oh, the lighting's a little bad there. I'm like, oh no, it's getting a little thin here and here. So like, I'd use the hair fibers a little bit more, which meant I was now purchasing more. And like it was like starting to eat into, financially, you're taking a hit when you're buying these products that have, there's like an expiry date on the horizon, but you're like, ah, no, and I'm not going to deal with it today.
Right.
But like you're taking that financial hit. And so, yeah, I became pretty obsessed with like going to the mirror every time before going outside and just looking. I'm like, okay, is everything okay? And like the hair fiber residue, like, is there like just like a thin film of dust on my forehead? And I got to wipe that off or whatever. And like, it made a mess, like in the bathroom, like on the sink. Like it just, you couldn't see it at the time, but over, a few hours, it would just settle. And you're like, what is this thin film of like dark brown material? And it was just a messy, messy thing. One of the things I really started seriously considering from the very get-go was the hair transplant. And I was
Mm.
always like, oh, I'm definitely going to save up money for that.
Okay.
I'll definitely do that. I'm going to go over to Turkey. That seems to be where the cheapest option is. I
Mhm.
even had called a clinic here. So I live near Toronto, and I called a clinic there. And I remember like I sent in photos. They had requested photos of like the front and the sides and the crown. And I guess my photo of the crown wasn't very clear. And so they called me back and they're like, we just need you to take another photo of the crown just to see the extent. And I kind of freaked out. And so I stopped taking their calls and I just ghosted them.
Oh,
It
really?
was like they tried to call me back for like, oh man, probably 7 weeks. They would call once a week, and I would always just ignore the call because I was
Mhm.
like, no, I can't go through with it. I just can't.
Right.
Like I was really struggling with justifying the cost versus the toll it had already taken on me and what it would continue to do. I was like, that's not a solution. I'm still gonna have this anxiety about like, does my hair look okay? But it was always there in the back of my mind, even up until this year, still. I remember like the last couple of years, I was always like, maybe I'll just shave my head on my birthday. And every year, like the last couple of years, my birthday would come up, and I was like, next year, we're gonna do it next year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so this year. I was like, okay, we need to make a decision. You can't sustain this hair fiber hairspray. So what are you waiting for? And we got into this summer, the latter stages of the summer. That's when I really started binging the videos. I was like,
Okay.
okay, Baldcafe. I know
Yeah.
because I had been aware of it for a couple of years at this point. But every time I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe someday, maybe someday. And then this year I was like, you know what? That someday is today.
Right.
It's now, it's happening. And I was just on a vacation in Portugal, and I was like, I remember just the feeling while I was there the whole time. Like honestly, it was a great trip, but I wanted to watch Bald Cafe videos more than I wanted to tour.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. To get the
Because
courage to just do it, right?
right,
Right.
right. Because I was dealing with like, I always had this hair that was like flying out of place, and I was like, why am I worrying so much about this on a vacation when I could have just dealt with it? And so that's why I was just like, okay, when we go home, I got to deal with this. So we get home, and I was like, okay, my birthday, I'll do it in November. And I was like, you know what? The last 2 years I've said I'm gonna do it on my birthday. It didn't happen. So it was Halloween night, and I'm like, everyone else is dressing up into their costumes. I'm taking mine off. And so that
Right.
was what it was. I'm taking the disguise off.
Nice. Yeah.
That's it. So I had just purchased this is what pushed me over the edge. I had just purchased another container of the hair fibers. I'm like, man, I'm so sick of spending money on this. Like, this is an expense of like, it's not a huge expense, but it's an expense of $30 a month. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I am so sick of doing this. And I was like, I haven't opened it. I have the receipt. Why don't I go return it and buy a razor? And
Mhm.
then I'm going to come home and I'm going to shave my head. And we did.
That's
And my wife was really
fun.
supportive of it the whole way. Like we got to the drugstore and I'm like, I don't want to do this. She's like, get in, like, keep going. Like, I think I said it several times when I was like actually like shaving my head. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I can't believe. But honestly, the feeling of like taking the clippers and starting, and I was like, I'd watched a few other videos. I'm like, some guys start on the side, some guys go right down the. I'm like, I'm going right down the middle. I'm totally going to go right down the middle. And I did. I was like, there was no sound. I was like, there's nothing there.
Right.
It didn't. And I was like, oh man. So that was like the last sign right then and there. I was like, I've lived in denial for so long that like there was nothing to shave there. And I was like, oh, okay. Every guy has a different experience. There seems to be a common thread of like this feeling of liberation as they're doing it. And honestly, there was a feeling of freedom as I was like, taking the clippers to my hair and watching it fall into the sink. There was like, it was like this burden was like just being lifted off. And I was like, man, I can breathe now. Man, I don't have to worry about maintenance anymore. I don't have to obsess about like, oh, is the hair fiber like, am I sweating too much? Is it dripping down now? Or is like the hair at a place? And like, am I at the wrong angle by a window where there's backlighting where people can actually see through all the hair where there's like nothing there? And like, because the hair fibers can only go so far, but all that was gone. The feeling of liberation was there.
Hmm.
Okay. Like I was like, oh man, I don't have to worry about this. When I did finally like right down to the skin with the razor, I didn't love the look at first because it was such a drastic change from what I had been used to. And part of it was that, yes, it was a drastic change. But the other part was that I was in so much denial that I had lost that much hair. Like I had lost way more hair than I had thought.
Right.
And I'd never allowed myself like I never let my scalp breathe. Like as soon as if I took a shower at night, hair fibers in, hairspray. We're not gonna, I'm not gonna wake up with a bedhead because then I have to do it all over again. If I showered in the morning, like I was like, okay, well, done. Like, no one's ever gonna see this.
Not even yourself, kind of, right?
Not even myself.
Yeah.
Not even myself. Only to like just dress it up with the hair fibers.
Mm.
And that was it. Like my wife, she was like, you know what? It suits you. Like it actually, the look it suits you. And then I went into work the next day and I'd given no notice to my coworkers at all, like none of my colleagues. And like, they were just like, what? That really suits you, man. They're like, it totally fits. Like, they're like, I never imagined that. They're like, have you ever done anything like that before? And I was like, no. They're like, well, it's working. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like, and I made sure to like say thank you because I was like, in my mind, I needed to hear that because,
Yeah.
like, at first, because it was such a change to me, I'm still getting used to it. I can't, and other people are getting used to it, but everyone has been so complimentary of it.
Mm.
And I was like, what was I so afraid of in the first place? Like, obviously, like, I was like, honestly, what was I afraid of? What was the worst thing that was going to happen? Someone's like, haha, you're bald. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. When you look back, at the steps you took to kind of get to where you are now, is there something that you did or thought of, or some kind of sort of mental process you went through that really helped you get to this point that perhaps other people can learn from?
Yes. If you're losing your hair, you're losing your hair, and it's totally okay. Like even the way we phrase it, we say where I'm losing my hair. Like, okay, yeah, sure. You can grieve the loss of something.
Right.
Absolutely. But you gain, like, I mean, I can go swimming. I can go, running without, having to worry about the wind now. I can wear hats as accessories now instead of like shields.
Yeah.
So so like we talk about losing a hair, but it's like I don't know, I gained options instead of losing options. That's how I reasoned it at the very end there.
Really, really well told, man. So thank you.